afternoon, because at long last, I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. For more than 15 months of conflict that began with Hezbollah's brutal massacre on October the 7th, more than 15 months of terror for the hostages, their families, the Israeli people, more than 15 months of suffering by the innocent people of Gaza. Fighting in Gaza will stop, and soon the hostages will return home to their families. The elements of this deal were what I laid out in detail this past May, which was embraced by countries around the world and endorsed overwhelmingly by the UN Security Council. The deal is structured in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. It includes a full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas, including women and elderly and the wounded. And I'm proud to say Americans will be part of that hostage release in phase 1 as well. And the Vice President and I cannot wait to welcome them home. In exchange, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. And during phase 1, the Palestinians can also return to their neighborhoods in all the areas of Gaza. And the surge of humanitarian assistance into Gaza will begin. And the innocent people can have a greater access to these vital supplies. You know, during the next 6 weeks, Israel will negotiate the necessary arrangements to get phase 2, which is a permanent end of the war. Let me say it again, a permanent end of the war. There are a number of details to negotiate to move from phase 1 to phase 2, but the plan says if negotiations take longer than 6 weeks, the ceasefire will continue as long as the negotiations continue. I've spoken to the Emir of Kuwait and the President of Egypt and to make sure the negotiations will keep moving forward for as long as it takes. Then, when phase 2 begins, there will be an exchange for release of the remaining living hostages, including male soldiers, and all remaining Israeli forces will be withdrawn from Gaza. And the temporary ceasefire will become permanent. And finally, phase 3, any final remains of hostages who have been killed will be returned to their families. And a major reconstruction plan for Gaza will begin. This is the ceasefire agreement I introduced last spring. Today, Hamas and Israel have agreed to that ceasefire agreement and the whole ending the war. You know, those of you who have followed the negotiations can attest, the road to this deal has not been easy. I've worked in foreign policy for decades. This is one of the toughest negotiations I've ever experienced. And we reached this point because of the pressure that Israel built on Hamas, backed by the United States. Hamas's longtime leader, Sinwar, was killed. Hamas's strongest supporter, Iran, launched attacks on Israel. And those attacks failed after my administration organized a coalition of nations to stop them. And after I ordered the U.S. ships and planes to come to Israel's defense, we also shaped Israel's strong and calibrated response, destroying Iran's air defenses, but avoiding an escalatory cycle of an all-out war. The United States also organized a coalition of 20 countries to stand up to attacks by the Houthis, including the missile attacks in Israel. Then Hezbollah, another of Hamas's strongest backers, was significantly weakened on the battlefield, and its leadership was destroyed. With our support, Israel negotiated a ceasefire with them, and after that, Lebanon finally elected a new president who's not beholden to Hezbollah, and he can begin a new chapter for the Lebanese people. All told, these developments in the region, which the United States helped to shape, changed the equation. And so now, the terror network that once protected and sustained Hamas is far weaker. Iran is weaker. Iran is weaker than it's been in decades. Hezbollah is badly degraded. And after more than 15 months of war, Hamas's senior leaders are dead. Thousands of Hamas fighters are dead. And the military formations have been destroyed. With nowhere to turn, Hamas finally agreed to releasing hostages. You know, there was no other way for this war to end.
Yeah, Sophia Gray said, greater than 40,000 people have lost their lives during the war, which is crazy and very, very tragic to hear. And finally, they finally made a deal, which I thought it wasn't going to happen. I thought it was going to be maybe another year, but they finally got a deal done, and and then now we're going to see the war is finally over, and it's people, people are going to be released, and it's starting to starting to see some light when it comes to this type of war. So go ahead, Ronnie. After hearing this breaking news earlier today, what's your take about Hamas and finally reached a deal, and what can you see? Do you see it lasting, or do you see it stuff might happen in the next 10, 15, or 20 years?
I don't see the deal. I don't see the deal lasting. I'm just being honest because the thing between Israel and Hamas, they've been battling over that land for decades, and it's just gonna cool off for a couple of years, and then they're gonna go right back at it again because Hamas is gonna say something or Israel is gonna do something. It's just how it is. Those two neighbors would never get along, and I don't think people fail to realize they would never get along. Sometimes you can't hang up. You can't A pit bull can't hang out with a German Shepherd. It's just sometimes it just don't happen that way, and it is what it is. Now, when it comes to Israel, it's sadly mistaken. A lot of people was affected by it. People's lives was lost. Same thing with Hamas. People became prisoners. People lost family, children, lost limbs. It was just a very tragic situation. We never covered it until today. Thank you, John, for covering it today. But it's just a sad case. And when it comes to Israel and Hamas, people really get very passionate about it. And and because it deals with a lot of political views. Like even right now with the United States, you have Biden taking credit, and you also have the elect President Donald J. Trump taking credit for the ceasefire agreement. So it's like, okay, who the one that created the ceasefire agreement? Was it Biden or was it Trump? So now we are battling between that right now. So at some point we got to get to the point where is that we are people. At some point, people are tired of going to wars. We live in a generation that people don't want wars anymore, and that's what we're heading to now. Go right ahead, I can. Oh, not only that, but shout out to the lovely Sapphire Grace for the gifted membership. Go right ahead, Jordan. Read the gifted membership.
Thank you for Sophia Grace. So she gets to 5 membership. She gets to Jabrani Ellie, to Nia, J Hub, Gala, and SD. So thank you, Sophia Grace. We really appreciate you for supporting our channel as you always do so much. We love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Solid as a rock. That's Sophia Grace's nickname. Solid as a rock. Girl, you always been supportive. I'm coming to Tampa to treat you nice. But I'm a little bit conflicted with this. This is not going to stop. I don't think on both ends. I think you have one side that is poor, the other side is that. I'm gonna just be very careful about what I say. A lot of this stems from old situation, and only God will decide. I think not even in our lifetime, Jordan and Ronnie, this will be solved. Maybe in our kids, we might see 50% of some idea of what this might look. But when you have one being oppressed and the other oppressing, I'm not saying who did it, and people who are fighting for freedom and fighting to live It's always going to be war.
You right about that, Hakeem. Like I said, they've been fighting each other for a long time. They just hate each other. They really do. They it's to me it's worse than like Christian Bloods, how they hate each other. They just hate each other. To me they would never resolve. Even though the deal might be done, it sounds good, it'll like I say it saved lives, but then again, this they hate each other so much that they lost a lot of lives, innocent lives at that, going into war at each other. So when it comes to this, I feel like they had to do something, especially how the other countries are looking at this type of war because of Israel and Hamas. They had to do something. But to me, I agree with you, Ronnie. This not gonna last that long. I feel like this is like a band-aid. Sticking a band-aid for someone for a little bit, maybe a couple years, 5 years, but eventually, they're going to fight again. They're going to have problems once again, and like I said, this is the type of war and type of people that they're going to basically hate each other forever. For some, like I said, for the religion they believe in, and and how they look at each other and everything. So yeah, this right here, this gonna be a battle that's gonna last forever. Unless aliens come and attack us, and we had no choice but everybody in the whole wide world got to sit together to fight aliens. It will take aliens to come, if there's aliens is real, to come that's going to attack Earth to order for Hamas Israelis to sit together. That's what I believe. But because this deal, to me, this deal doesn't mean anything. Like I say, save lives, but we lost a lot of lives. But yeah, man, they just hate each other.
Yeah, because remember, when it comes to Hamas, who is very Islamic, and you have Israel, who is very Judaism. They go strictly on that religion. They talk about whoever controls Jerusalem controls the world. So that's what the battle is about. I think it's not a more of a physical war. I think it's more of a spiritual battle. And that's the thing. We're not, like Hakeem said, I'm winning 110%. We won't see in our decades, but our kids will. Hopefully. Hopefully. They will live in a better tomorrow. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Don't forget to hit that notification bell on the right hand side so you never miss it when we go live. Shout out to those who are watching us on all across the board: YouTube, Instagram, Kick, and also Twitch. Guys, make sure you follow. So very important for you guys to follow so you never miss it when we go live. Shout out to those watching us on Rumble and also X. Moving along, Jordan. Moving forward.
All right, let's go. Let's get to that topic. We're gonna go all the way to St. Louis, Missouri. We're gonna talk about the mayor there, who took she was as term as a mayor. She took about 64 trips in 42 months as being the mayor of St. Louis. So her name is Tashura Jones. She was the mayor of St. Louis and was out of town on work trips at least 64 times during her first 42 months in high office. A major departure from the practice of her, but a strategist she says is paying dividends for the city. So she's been away altogether from trips for 163 days, roughly 12% of her time in office, including weekends, to that point, according to analysis. So she took trips to like Florida, she took trips to like New York. Basically, she using the city money to take trips, basically everywhere. Since because when you're married, you get a special credit card, spending really to help the city. So she used that to spend practically lavish lifestyle to going about 64 trips in her tenure on going to big major spendings and spending a lot much money and everything. And we didn't heard it. Like I said, this is not the first time we heard it before. We heard this of Tiffany Henyard, and the I forgot the city called, but she's a